Hello and welcome to Future Proof, the business television programme that looks at the power of emotional intelligence and how it can help employers, employees and indeed students to, I think, feel better equipped for their future. The programmes are designed to bring along people who can share their wisdom, but also for me to talk through some aspects of emotional intelligence. And also I do plan to signpost to YouTube authors, to books that have been written, books that have inspired me. But please do email me, sarah@sarahhopwood.com, if you have any questions, if you think I can help you in any way, because I'm more than happy to do that. A large part of emotional intelligence is around communication. So emotional intelligence in essence is about empowering ourselves and others to respond instead of react. And once we've made or been through that decision-making process, then the response usually comes about through communication. 9 times out of 10 it's spoken, but of course we know that actions can speak louder than words, and indeed silence can be better held, but also perhaps a silent, not very nice look as well at the same time can really communicate a very, very strong message without even saying a word. So in this week's programme I want to look closer at communication, and this is in very, very broad terms. It's the information that I often share with businesses, or indeed coaching on one-to-one I think sort of problem-solving exercises with managers, partners, directors, or even on the shop floor. And the reason why this is such a big ask is because we all know that communication really matters, and quite often it's how you say it and how you do it. And we've all had, or we've had heard someone come up and say, well, I don't know what their problem is, I only told them no, or I don't know what their problem is, I only did this, or I only did that. And of course in the back of our minds we can think, yes, but how did you say it? And also I think I'll touch on the importance of timing too, because sometimes how we say it and what we're actually communicating is absolutely fine, but we have chosen a very, very bad time to have that conversation or to communicate whatever we want to communicate. So I hope that you enjoy the programme, and as I say, if you have any questions then do email me, sarah@sarahhopwood.com, and I'd be more than happy to address some of those. In communication, there are many experts on the subject. I would never call myself an expert. I have a lot of knowledge, I have a lot of experience personally, and indeed years of talking to business owners, to talking to members of staff, and actually probably more importantly listening to them, listening to what people are saying. And so a lot of where I come from is around discernment, and I try to avoid too much judgment. I don't encourage people to judge so much as to educate, and I think the more educated we are, the more we have to consider, and I think empathy is a very, very strong aspect of emotional intelligence, but also we still have to communicate very, very clearly what it is that we want, what we're happy with, what we're not happy with. So understanding this stuff can really, really help. So this is it in broad terms. And you can sometimes see a PowerPoint go up, and it's a very, very common one, talking about tone and intonation and the words that are used and the power of body language. And many will argue over the percentage figures that are given on that pie chart, and indeed my understanding is where the original figures came from, the guy said himself in retrospect that he was slightly misunderstood because he was talking about whether people were in a room or out of a room at the time of communication. But for me, that's not really the point of that pie chart. It's not the point of those numbers. I think the point of those numbers are that body language is a massive part of communication. And so if you have problems at work and you're emailing, then please, get off of email. Email's very, very good for communicating facts, short and sweet. Yes, you might have to draft something that's quite comprehensive at times, but I would strongly recommend not having ongoing dialogue on email that involves an awful lot of words, or indeed you can see that somebody is reacting more sensitively, if that's the right word, or you can tell that nerves are being hit. And if you do recognise that, whether you agree with their discussion or not, the recommendation is always get off of email. And the next step might be to pick up the phone. It depends on where you are, but we all know in so many offices people will just email or phone if they have to, but they will avoid the face-to-face because it's easier. And there's another saying that people hide behind email, people hide behind words. So what I will always do is change the mode of communication if I can spot that there is something not working quite as well as I would like in that communication. And of course the art of doing that is to suspend. And I've used that word before, and it's a very challenging one, and I fail miserably time and again. But to suspend, don't hit reply, suspend, choose what you're going to do next. Considered thought, sometimes sleeping on it can really, really help. But we also have preferred styles personally, and this is in very, very broad terms. But there are some people who like to communicate visually, some auditory, and some kinesthetically. So visually, this is where people can see things, they need to see things, and often they will be looking up onto a higher plane somewhere when they're talking to you, because they're either drawing down or indeed commending information up into their library, which tends to kind of sit slightly above them. Auditory people, I always think of kids in classrooms here, because I used to be a teacher and I was aware that there were some children who appeared to not be concentrating or not focused on what was going on, and since I learnt this stuff, I've realised that I possibly misjudged children who were very auditory preferred in their communication, because they don't need to see stuff, they are listening and processing. So they might disengage with their eyes, they might look down, they might appear to be detached in some way, but they're not, they are heavily auditory. And another one then is the kinesthetic, and this was very much me many years ago. I'm a former nurse, I'm a former teacher, and the caring professions are very, very kinesthetic in their intelligence, in how they like to communicate. So you'll hear words around that, and they will be using words like I feel your pain. And in the second half I'm going to say a little bit more about how you can spot who has what preferred style. The art of using this information is to, I think, first of all look at ourselves and think, well, which is mine? And if you're not sure, maybe ask somebody and say, look, out of these three, kinesthetic, visual and auditory, which one do you think I am? And investigate it a little bit, because that will then really help you perhaps understand why you're having a mismatch of communication with someone else who perhaps doesn't communicate the same way as you. And on a personal level, there are times Paul and I will chat away, and he's very visual, he's a chartered accountant by profession, and before now he's looked at me and he's just gone, ugh, too many words, I can't process it. And rather than sort of damn him for it, or for him to damn me for how I'm communicating, if we can reach a space of mutual respect and understanding, so as I said earlier, educationally based, then what we can do is then understand why the other person is responding the way that they are, and we can actually adjust between us the communication style, which will then get us back onto equal pegging and build that very important bridge of rapport, so that we can continue to communicate and exchange information in a very nice, friendly, interactive way. But in the second half I'll be saying more about the words associated to the different styles. So come back in a minute. EQ, emotional quotient, is better known as emotional intelligence. It is a tangible tool that can sit alongside your services or your product, and it can be taught. Leaders with high EQ have less stress, they're more effective, and they earn more money. There's a great saying, just because we have pains, it does not give us permission to be a pain. I believe that teaching emotional intelligence has a direct impact on your sense of success and your net profits. EQ will empower you and your workforce to drive the change that you want. Change brings transition. EQ can help unpack what's holding you back and speed up that period of transition.